Soldiers fighting in one of the worst wars ever. Talk about a place of no hope. They hadn't been fighting that long, but little did they know the war would go on another 4 years and become more brutal than ever. But on that Christmas, something happened. And the weeks leading up to Christmas, and on Christmas Eve, and on Christmas Day, it started with the Germans. They started putting candles on their trees, and they started singing Christmas carols. And then along on the other side, way past no man's land, the British started singing Christmas songs. The French, they joined together in Silent Night, which all three nations knew. And in the middle of the war, you could not hear a sound from a gun. It was the Christmas truce, the armistice of 1914, which was unofficial. No, there wasn't going to be any official truce. But the troops on those days laid down their weapons, got up out of the trenches, and met in no man's land. It said that they exchanged presents. They took buttons off their coats because they were different and gave them to the other soldiers. They traded tobacco. In the middle of a war, they set down their guns and they were able to find a connection. It's one of the most powerful stories, let alone Christmas stories, that I think that you could find. I've been blessed to never have been in a war. I don't know how anyone comes through that experience and comes back to any kind of a normal life. But these soldiers were able to do that, and millions of soldiers over the years have done that. I think that veterans might give us a Christmas message. That even when you come through some of the darkest experiences that most people will never know, you're able to come back and find some light somewhere, somehow. Soldiers, not what you think of as part of the Christmas story. They're not in our manger over here. But soldiers in 1914 are an inspiration to us today. And this story is so powerful because it involved so many soldiers taking an unofficial stand for peace. I don't know about you, but sometimes I could use a little encouragement about the state of affairs. I can't even imagine finding common ground on the impeachment of our president, but these men found common ground in the middle of a war zone. I can't even get myself off of Facebook. They got themselves off of rifles and artillery, and they were able to come together in a magical moment. It gives us hope. Maybe just a little bit of hope that if that could happen then, what could happen now? What kind of Christmas truce can we find in our lives? In our country, in our world. Most importantly, what Christmas truce can we find in our consciousness? Where is there a war that you're involved in, that you're ready to let the light come into the darkness? The darkness will be with us, and at this time of year especially, anyone who is sensitive to a lack of light may be struggling. This is a season for depression for many people. The lack of light is a biochemical issue for some of us that are wired that way. So how do we find the light to overcome this season of darkness? Well, it starts with some holidays, doesn't it? It's no coincidence that we're celebrating Christmas, seasons of light, in this period of darkness. Most likely, Jesus' birth was moved to be celebrated at this time of year because of other celebrations, and also I think because who better to give us some hope when it's dark and cold than to celebrate the birth of Jesus. And of course, to celebrate the birth of Jesus metaphysically, it means so much more than just this announcement of a baby so many years ago. It's about the birth of the best of you. The Christ child is you. For the last couple of weeks in our sermon series, Finding Yourself in Christmas, we have talked about how we are all of these characters up here, that they live in us. And the one character that's missing right now is the baby Jesus, because he hasn't been born yet. And so he'll make his appearance on the 24th. But really, he makes his appearance in consciousness in you all the time. He's always there. The divine of you is always present. No matter what war you might be involved in. And there are plenty going around. But there is such inspiration in this story of the soldiers, and not just the soldiers, of the Christmas message. That's why we celebrate it every year. It can be this way for us to come out of the darkness. Now, I'm blessed. I am luckily not wired to be someone who's affected by seasonal affective disorder. So the darker and the colder it gets, the happier I am. I just am that way. Now catch me in summer when I have summer affective disorder. And that's a little bit tougher for me, but I love this time of year. However, all is not merry and gay in my world. There are things that trouble me about the Christmas season, just like there are many of us. And as I got my newspaper this morning, I was reminded of that one. You know, these are just the ads that came in my paper today. Christmas ads telling me to buy everything under the sun. No, I'm not saying there's a war on Christmas. I'm not one of those people. But boy, I don't like all the commercialism, do you?
No.
Yeah. It kind of takes away from it. And so I try to tell myself, you know, just kind of set this aside here. Maybe we'll put it on the table of light back here where it won't catch fire, but let's let some blessings be on these papers. But economically and environmentally and socially and spiritually, you know, I feel the heaviness of commercialism, if not of the darkness. I feel that. And if I let it overtake me, that could be how I define Christmas. Oh, you know, darn it, I could be crabby. But I don't want to do that. I think that there is a message for us in this commercialism. It reminds us, oh wait, there's a story behind all of this. It isn't about all of that stuff. And I don't know about most of you, but I don't remember a lot of the religious side of Christmas growing up. I don't think we read the story. I really remember basically one thing: presents. What presents was I going to get that year? I would get out the Sears catalog. Anybody remember the Sears catalog? Sears catalog and a legal pad of paper. And I would start my list. And I would actually reference the page numbers. Make it easy for my mom. But it turns out there's really a story. And my favorite part of the Christmas story comes in the Gospel of Luke. And she gave birth to her firstborn son and wrapped him in bands of cloth and laid him in a manger because there was no place for them at the inn. I love the image of the baby being wrapped in a manger. And in the region there were shepherds living in the fields, keeping watch over their flock by night. And then an angel of the Lord stood before them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid, for see, I am bringing you good news of great joy for all people. For to you is born this day, in the city of David, a son who is the Messiah, the Lord, and he will be wrapped in bands of cloth, lying in a manger." It's a birth story. It's the best birth story next to your own or your children's. It's a birth story. It's about Christmas presents, not Christmas presents. It's about the presence of God within all of us. And I like to picture some of these images that I see online where they have the image of the baby in the manger and there's light just coming out from the scene. Light bursting forth from this baby. This baby that was going to do amazing things. And isn't that how you feel about every baby that's come into your life? Like the light of God just bursts out when it's all about a baby. And that's what it's really about. And well over a century ago, people were already starting to get wise that this commercialism thing wasn't so good. At the turn of the last century, someone said 25 years ago, that would have been in the 1800s, 25 years ago, Christmas was not the burden that it is now. There was less haggling and weighing, less quid pro quo, less fatigue of body, less wearing of the soul, and most of all, there was less loading up with trash. 1904, Margaret Deland had figured this out, and it was published in Harper's Bazaar. 1900s. You know, they worked hard. They worked hard for their money. There was a great inequality among the rich and the poor, just like there is now. But they worked so hard that when the burden of gift giving came at Christmas, it fell especially hard on them, because they were women. And they made less than their male counterparts, and they had the menial jobs to begin with. So when it was expected of them every Christmas to give their supervisor a very expensive gift, as much as 2 weeks' wages, it was a burden on them. It was a darkness on them. And while they couldn't vote, they could organize. And they could say no. And so they formed their own group that I would love to be part of today. Maybe you want to join this group with me and become a spug. Anybody interested in finding out about being in my club? A spug? I want to join the Society for the Prevention of Useless Gifts. Spug. Real thing. Check it out. I'm a spug. You want to be a spug? Who here wants to be a spug? Okay, most of the room, we're now spugs, so maybe we'll get a chapter going here in Displays. Society for the Prevention of Useless Giving. Useless gifts. Now, it later transformed into something a little more positive in the name, Society for the Promotion of Useful Giving. And it became part of the effort of World War I, actually. That then, when everybody started to have to pull back, and they weren't expected to give gifts to their supervisors, these store clerks turned their efforts to the war and were able to put together care packages. And then they made a lasting difference in how things were when they returned back to normal after the war. The invention of greeting cards came along. And so people just gave greeting cards instead of these huge, extravagant gifts. And I figure if this group was good enough for Teddy Roosevelt, it's good enough for us. Because he joined. He was one of the first men to join and say yes. And so, the next time you feel that you've got a little pressure from your family, you just tell them, hey, I've decided to be a spug this year. And tell them to go Google it, and then run out the door. Because I know what it can be like sometimes to address this. It's uncomfortable. It deals with money issues and family issues. I remember a long time ago, in my first marriage on a planet far, far away, I was the first one to bring up the idea of a grab bag. Oh, have any of you tried this with your families? Okay, many of you have. Did it go well? Oh, good, because mine did not. The first year, I was like the Grinch who stole Christmas. Nobody wanted any part of the grab bag, so everything just went on, and I kind of felt awkward for bringing it up. Except the next year in November, 2 of my family members called me on the phone and said, hey, you know that grab bag thing you mentioned last year? We've had a rough year this year. We wouldn't mind saving a little bit of money. Let's try it this year. And they've been doing it ever since. Because this pain of commercialism, the darkness of commercialism, it's real. I've had people sit with me and practically be in tears over not being able to buy enough gifts for people, especially grandparents. You know, you got 20 grandkids now. You can't give them each $100. I may not even give them $50, and the guilt that I see on faces. We gotta do something about that. We need to bring lightness to that dark, that weight, that expectation. So I love to hereby absolve all of you of any of that. Don't feel burdened. Don't be dictated to by this pile in your Sunday paper. Be dictated to by the story that you read in this book. That it's about family and it's about coming together. That's what it's about. I have a friend who made a courageous decision this year. They would always go visit their family. But then they had the first child, and it got a little bit harder to travel cross country at Christmas, but they did it. And then they had the second child, and it got a lot harder, and then many parents of threes tell me that that's when it gets really hard because they outnumber you. And so getting 3 kids on a plane cross country, she's nodding her head there, yeah. They finally realized this year when I called to ask, what's the plan, when do you get going? We're not going this year. We finally realized that it's more stress on the kids than joyful. It's a terribly long plane ride, and we end up not having as much fun. So we are going to create a new tradition for our family, and for the first year that I've known him, they're not traveling for Christmas. And when he told me that, his face lit up. He was a new person, unburdened. The light had come to take over the dark for him and his family. And even better, they're going to save $5,000 on airline tickets. That's a lot to fly that many people. But it took courage to do that, and not everyone may be happy in his family, but that Christmas morning, I bet you they're going to be really happy and relaxed for the first time. And that can be what Christmas is about also. About making a shift where you need to, and bringing lightness where there has been heaviness and darkness. The soldiers put down their guns. My friend put down the airline tickets. What do you need to put down? And I figure if my friend can be that authentic with his family to say, I know I should be doing this, but I need to make a change, then I could do that too. I could do that with my church family here and bring a little lightness to some darkness that's in my heart. And so I'm going to ask all of you to pray for me, because I'm having a little bit of a hard time in the last few months. I love my job. I love what I do. I am honored to be up here and humbled that anyone will sit and listen to me talk. I'm humbled. But a long time ago, God said, go out there and share the unity message with as many people as you possibly can. And I listened. But sometimes it's hard. And I love all of you, and it's difficult to please all of you all of the time. I do my best, but there's 100 or so of you, and I do my best. And I am so grateful to the people who have come and talked to me about what's not working for them. And I'm grateful to the people who have come and told me what is working for them. This is not about individuals. It's about the uncomfortableness of church. One person pleasing 100, 52 some weeks a year. And I know because I have been you. I have been the one out there in a church with a new minister thinking, this is not exactly what I had hoped for. And I've wanted every Sunday to be fantastic, and it hasn't been. My mentor tells me if you hit it out of the park a third of the time, and you're okay a third of the time, and you sort of stink a third of the time, you're about average. So that's somewhere in my life that I want to share with you to bring some lightness to the dark. And the best way I know to bring that is prayer. So I'm asking the prayer chaplains when I meet with them next, and with the first service folks, and with all of you, hold me in prayer as I continue to find my way through this job that I love so much. It'll be a Christmas blessing for me and a new way of being, so thank you. And perhaps there's somewhere in your life that you need to do that too. Perhaps there's something you need to share with your family. Perhaps there's a change that you want to make. How do we bring the Christmas darkness into our life? Through openness, through authenticity, through truth, through sharing, through celebrating. How do we have the Christmas birth story alive every day? Well, it starts with a baby. The story starts with a baby, because a baby changes everything. It's one of my favorite Christmas songs by Faith Hill. A baby changes everything. You've all had some babies in your lives, right? Don't they just change your whole world? I haven't had the blessing of having one, but man, when my niece was born 36 years ago, my whole world changed. And the birth of the Christ in you is what changes everything for you. And as I was listening to this song, a baby changes everything. A baby changes everything. You would think I'd be getting ready to get pregnant. I was so into this song all week. And then I had this metaphysical moment. A new thought changes everything. And I sang it to that song. A new thought changes everything. That's what the story is about for me this year. It's different all the time. Right now it's about what new thought can I hold that's going to transform my life. That's what I want to catch hold of. A baby changes everything. A new thought changes everything. The soldiers had a new thought. Let's put our guns down. Those store clerks had a new thought. Let's stop this crazy gift giving. My friend had a new thought. I'm not going to New Orleans this year. New thought. That's what our movement's called. A new thought changes everything. And a baby changes everything. And this year, a very special baby changed everything for me. A baby that was born decades ago. A baby that was given up for adoption. A baby changed everything. A baby that never knew her birth family, but a baby who went into a very wonderful adoptive home and had a good life. A baby changed everything. And then a few weeks before Christmas, a message came through from her sister, the sister that she'd never known. And then a phone call, and then plans for a meeting next year. And that's how I met my sister this year. Her name is Mary. So perfect for Christmas. Born in December. And after years and years of looking, a new thought happened. A new thought called DNA research. A DNA bank. A new thought called Ancestry.com happened. And after 25 years of how will I find this person, in an instant, that baby changed everything. That's how it can happen. And that is my Christmas prayer for you. That you find your lost sister, that you let go of a tradition that doesn't work, that you make a new tradition that does work. My greatest hope every year is that you have the Christmas that you want, not that somebody else wants, not that somebody else tells you. No, you create the Christmas that you want. And if that isn't giving birth to a new child, I don't know what is. Because a new thought changes everything. A baby changes everything, especially you. Merry Christmas, and God bless you. Let us now enter into this sacred time together. We set aside any thought of doing and fall back into the nature of our being, into the Christ of us. I now turn within to experience and express the love of God. Perhaps I put my hand over my heart, symbolically, to get in touch with love. And as my hand connects with my heart, and I connect with this deep power that connects me with others, I I am shifting, I am changing, I am becoming more. The Christ love lives within me. It is always present. It never dims. Only my recognition changes. And so today, let me recognize all the love of God here. Let my light shine brightly. Let me know beyond words my connection with all that is and ever shall be. I am love. I am light. The light of the world lives in me. It shines out and it shines all around. I am the light of the world. And as the lights of this season remind me, the light shines on in the darkness, erasing all challenges. The light is my salvation. The light of God is here now as I rest in the silence, in the love, in the light of God. Thank you, God. I'm grateful for the light all around me, the light in the eyes of the people here in this room, the physical lights, the light from every heart that brings us together, most importantly. Let the light shine. Let it shine brightly from you. And so it is.